Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the best Han Solo star card setups for each game mode in Star Wars Battlefront 2. We'll cover the top setups for Heroes vs Villains, Co-op, Galactic Assault and Capital Supremacy, along with some must-know advanced tips that will take your Han Solo gameplay to the next level. As a max level Han Solo player myself, I suggest that you stick around for the end of the video for some very important tips and tricks for Han Solo that most players, including veterans, don't even know. If you'd like to skip straight to the tips, the timestamp is in the description below. But without further ado, let's get into the best Heroes vs Villains star cards.
I'm out of it for a little while. Everyone gets delusions of grandeur.
Han Solo is a burst damage powerhouse in Heroes vs Villains. With the right setup, he can eliminate lightsaber users before they can even reach him, and be incredibly difficult to eliminate even if they do. The first star card we're going to be using is Air Burst. Han's Detonite Charge deals 20% bonus damage if detonated before attaching to a surface. You should learn to air burst it just above groups of enemies for huge splash damage. It does tons of damage, and since it also knocks players down if they're still alive, this is great for allowing you to get some extra distance or some more shots on them. This is one of Han Solo's best star cards, and I rarely ever take this card off. The second star card we're going to be using is Heavily Modified Blaster. Reduces the overheat rate of Han Solo's 𝗃𝗶𝗶𝗺 by 25%, letting you keep firing longer before it overheats. Critical for dealing lots of damage without the constant need to cool down or vent the blaster. This does exactly what it says in the tin, and allows you to fire the blaster for longer. Essentially, it's like an extended magazine. This is great for dealing more damage, and you'll be surprised how many additional eliminations you get because of this card. The third star card we're going to be using is Smuggler's Wits. Grants Han Solo an extra dodge roll, giving him 3 in total, but increases all cooldowns by 2 seconds. Great for aggressive flankers or escaping saber heroes. This card is incredible for outsmarting your opponent, especially force users. They'll be spamming their sabers at you, but due to your free rolls they just can't hit you if you time them correctly. Plus, if you run out of rolls, you can use your Detonite Charge or Shoulder Charge to knock them back to the ground and then continue to roll again. This makes Han Solo so damn annoying to fight against. Now we do have a bonus star card for Han Solo, and that's Broad Shoulders. Grants 40% damage reduction while shoulder charging. Swap this for Smuggler's Wits if you prefer survivability over mobility. This is perfect for when trying to break away from a fight or smash through a group. This card is also incredibly broken when paired with one of the tips at the end of the video. Essentially, you can shoulder charge infinitely. I have a small tutorial later in the video. This card's just good for survivability. That extra 40% damage reduction is good just if you're low health. It can help you escape, use your shoulder charge and run away, get back to your team. Or you can use it as an offensive ability, so you can attack somebody with it and have a 40% damage reduction, which is quite a big chunk. So let's move on to the co-op star cards.
Bulky religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster.
Han Solo dominates in co-op. With proper cooldown management and explosive control, this setup is optimised for fast eliminations and XP farming. The first star card we're going to be using is Air Burst. Han's Detonite Charge deals 20% bonus damage if detonated before attaching to a surface. This is your go-to for clearing clusters of AI. This card is amazing, especially in co-op. You'll see yourself eliminating large groups of enemies with a single throw of the Detonite Charge. Perfect for enemy spawns or large masses of enemies on objectives. Seriously, don't underestimate the 20% extra damage this card offers. It is absolutely incredible. Just make sure that you detonate it before it reaches the ground. The second star card we're using is Heavily Modified Blaster. Reduces the overheat rate of Han's 𝗃𝗶𝗶𝗺 by 25%, letting you keep firing longer before it overheats. With so many enemies rushing, you need sustained fire. This card is fantastic for allowing you to continuously drop enemies without having to cool down your blaster too often. Plus, Solo's blaster hits harder than your stepdad, so increasing the amount you can fire it before cooling is incredible. The third star card we're going to be using is All In, the strongest card for this mode. When you defeat an enemy with shoulder charge, it reduces the recharge time before the ability can be used again, 50% cooldown reduction. Now this card doesn't sound great, does it? But the description for this card is completely wrong. Not only does it cool down shoulder charge 50% faster, but it cools down all of Han's abilities 50% faster. And here's the added trick. If you eliminate an enemy with the shoulder charge and then don't use shoulder charge again, the cooldown buff lasts indefinitely. This means that after defeating someone with the shoulder charge, you gain a permanent ability cooldown of 50%, as long as you do not use shoulder charge again. This will give you a Detonite Charge every 8 seconds, which is absolutely crazy. Game changing for farming eliminations and score. Obviously, you can still use your shoulder charge if you absolutely have to, and to activate this buff again, just simply defeat another trooper with it. Now, I don't have a bonus star card for co-op because I think this is pretty much the best you can get, but if you do struggle with survivability, you could throw on broad shoulders and swap that out for all in, but personally I wouldn't do that. You're just risking losing too many eliminations and XP potential. It's not worth it. So let's move on to the Capital Supremacy Galactic Assault star cards.
Great kid. Don't get cocky.
Han Solo is a choke point destroyer in these large scale modes. This setup focuses on cooldown abuse and maximising explosive kills during objectives. So the first star card we're going to be using is Air Burst. Han's Detonite Charge deals 20% bonus damage if detonated before attaching to a surface. Still one of the best cards, and it's used in all 3 of my builds. Detonating the charge early deals 20% bonus damage, great for hallways, objectives and control points. Honestly, don't underestimate that 20% damage. It drops groups of enemies like flies. This card is an absolute game changer if you want those high elimination games. Especially when you pair this with the third card on the list, it makes it incredibly overpowered. The second star card we're going to be using is Heavily Modified Blaster. Reduces the overheat rate of Han Solo's 𝗃𝗏𝗶𝗺 by 25%, letting you keep firing your blaster for longer before it overheats. The 25% overheat reduction gives you sustained damage in open engagements and crowded fights, perfect for being able to dish out damage for longer before needing to cool down your blaster. Less blaster downtime means faster and more efficient eliminations, not to mention a higher elimination potential overall. The third card we're going to be using is All In. This card is incredible, mainly because it's broken, but still. When you defeat an enemy with shoulder charge, it will reduce the recharge time before the ability can be used again, 50% cooldown reduction. On the surface, this card doesn't sound great, does it? It sounds a little bit lackluster, but Dice being Dice entered the wrong description for this card. Not only does it cool down shoulder charge 50% faster, but it cools down all of Han's abilities 50% faster until you next use the shoulder charge again. So if you eliminate an enemy with shoulder charge and then you don't use your shoulder charge again, the cooldown buff lasts forever. This means that defeating someone with the shoulder charge, you gain a permanent ability cooldown of 50%. Like I said, as long as you do not use the shoulder charge again. This will give you Detonite Charge roughly every 8 seconds, which is absolutely crazy, especially since the Air Burst star card is increasing the damage by 20%. Game changing for farming eliminations and score, and defending objectives and choke points. Obviously you should still use your shoulder charge if you absolutely have to, especially if you have to escape to recover health. To reactivate this buff again, just simply defeat another trooper with the shoulder charge and voila, you're back in action. Now we do have a bonus star card for Han Solo, and that's Broad Shoulders, 40% damage reduction when using shoulder charge. If survivability is a bigger concern for you, swap this out for All In. Broad Shoulders is great for keeping you alive. 40% damage reduction is awesome, especially if you're in a tight situation and need to get out fast. I will say though that using Broad Shoulders will add massively to your survivability, but you'll lose a lot of your elimination and XP potential. The 40% damage reduction during shoulder charge can keep you alive though, so it sort of swings and roundabouts. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit of somewhat secret knowledge with Han Solo. You can infinitely use his shoulder charge, which can be seriously effective at helping you escape with your life, and becomes even more effective by letting you farm the 40% damage reduction from the Broad Shoulders star card. If you're close to death or outnumbered, this is incredible. Now keep in mind, this is a glitch. So to perform this, you need to activate your shoulder charge with either the R1, the RB or the E key, depending on what platform you're on. Then, when you're near the end of your shoulder charge, press the melee button, which is R3, RS or middle mouse button, depending on platform. After about half a second has passed after you've used your melee attack, you need to press the R1, RB or E key again to reuse your shoulder charge. Then repeat this as many times as you like until you get to the desired location. If timed correctly, this gives you infinite shoulder charges, perfect for high mobility, survivability and just causing pure chaos in the game. Plus you're probably going to annoy a few players too, so there's a little added bonus on the end. And that's a wrap for Han Solo's best star cards in all game modes in Star Wars Battlefront 2. If you found this helpful, be sure to like, subscribe and comment below for more Star Wars Battlefront 2 content. Also, don't forget to check out the channel for Battlefront 2 tips, tricks and star card guides for all heroes, villains, reinforcements, vehicles and classes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.